Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. It's Colleen coming in with a super quick project. Tonight we're going to work with ink again. Yay, ink. Ink and I have a love-hate relationship. I love it, but sometimes it doesn't want to love me back. It just takes a little extra patience when working with ink. But we're going to do a simple, easy project tonight that shouldn't give us any trouble, or at least give me any trouble. So we'll give it a whirl. We're going to do our Farm Sweet Farm, so I'm going to have to repeat the farm down here. And I actually have it so that it's already nicely folded up, and that's how I kind of bought this. It's a like a potato sack towel. And I found that using ink for doing purposes of dish towels and things like that, decorative dish towels, is to go with a surface like this. I would not recommend, I've tried it, I've gone with a surface like this. It's a little more textured, and I tested it out on here. Not so great for inking on, and so now I just use it as my drying towel for transfers once I'm cleaning them. But definitely these potato sack ones are awesome to ink on because they have the great texture and it comes out so nice on here. So I have my Couture ink. I'm going to use white, and this is our old 2-ounce jars, and now we have actually upgraded to 3-ounce jars, which I'm happy about because I always get ink on my fingers trying to take that lid off every time. So now with the 3-ounce jars, we don't have that little plastic lip anymore that you have to take off, and I am getting to the bottom of my white ink. I'm gonna have to buy some more. So as I mentioned, this is a kitchen dish towel. You can have it be a decorative towel, or you can use it whichever you may choose. It is washer safe, so if you actually want to use it, then that is perfectly fine, but this is just going to be decorative for me. So I have it kind of laid out how I was going to do it, just plain simple Farm Sweet Farm with the little doobers that come in here. I don't know what they're called, so I call them doobers. In this transfer set, they also have these really awesome lanterns, the little weather vane, and the candle for inside your lantern, and a little jug. How cute is that? So on this tea towel, I actually don't have enough space for all that. So, and I'm going very, very simple and very, very quick for tonight's project. So because I need to wash, or at least get the ink off of here to go and use it again so that it spells out Farm Sweet Farm, I'm going to do Farm first, get that right into my water, clean it off real quick so that it will dry while I'm doing the other pieces. Let me just see. I wonder if I raise this camera up just a smidge. Let me try so that we can get the whole project in here. Maybe that'll work. Let me see if that helps. There we go. We're a little higher now. That should work. Now we can see everything. Okay, so let's just get started. Oh, before I do that, whoops, I almost forgot to mention. I snuck in here our mat. I don't know if you guys can see that. It fit perfectly in there. I cut a little piece of our mat, and the reason that we use that mat is to protect the ink from going through to the bottom layers. So I just literally cut a piece. It fit in here perfectly. I just kind of snuck it right in there, and it goes all the way up to the top. And then as I get to this bottom part, I'm just going to slide my mat down a little bit to cover this bottom. But right now my mat is nicely under here, so I shouldn't have any problems with it going through. I'm using our brand new squeegee, which I love. This is great to use especially with ink so that you're not dipping your fingers into the jar and getting ink on your fingers and then accidentally touching somewhere and getting ink, little fingerprints that you didn't mean to have. So let's just go ahead. As I mentioned, we're just going to cover Farm first so I can get it right into the water, which I have sitting off to the side here. I hope to goodness that I have my mat under here correctly. Hopefully I do. I forgot to give it just another quick look-see, just to make sure that it is covering the whole transfer. Grab a little more ink. And all we're doing is covering the silkscreen area. That's all we need to worry about, right? Don't need to worry about any of this teal section. And I have a feeling that this little piece of my F here is probably not going to make it onto the towel, but because of the way I have it bent, I was sort of being a little lazy and not wanting to unfold the whole thing. because it comes so neatly folded, and knowing me, I'll never get it to fold back that way again. So there we go. That's all we had to do. Just make sure that we've got all of the surfaces covered. I'm just going to stick the excess back into the jar super quick. While I take this off, always check your fingers, no ink. So we can go ahead and pull this right off. Like so. Oh, it all fit. Yay, I'm happy about that. So I'm going to put that transfer in the water so that that can start getting that ink off. Let's do that real quick. Dry my hands on my towel. And then we're just going to keep on going. So that's, now we can go to the back up to the top, and we can get this little doober here. This little leaf, I guess. I kind of like calling it a doober. I don't know what it is. It's a little leaf. Just covering that up. Getting all my excess ink off. And then checking again. Fingers, no ink. We are good to go. So we can remove that one as well. Oh, that's so simple and so pretty. I love that. Okay, now we're just going to move right on along. And I'm doing the whole thing in white because I really like white on gray. It's just very, very basic. Checking my fingers again for ink. Very basic and simple and pretty. And kind of understated, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Oh, of course I just went right onto my finger with the ink. That's what I'm saying. Me and ink have this love-hate. I just always seem to wear it everywhere. There we go. I think we got that all covered. Oh, I got more ink on me. As I said, I'm super messy and get it everywhere. It does come off, so no worries. I was able to just get that off just rubbing it right on a paper towel. So no worries about that at all. And there we have sweet. Look how pretty. I love that. Okay, while that is resting here for 1 second, I want to grab Fawn back out and try to get my ink off of it from my water pan. I'm not going to worry about using the disinfectant as the final step because I'm going to use it again. So I just want to make sure I'm getting the ink, getting the silkscreen area nice and clear, and letting it dry for a second. Over here on my towel, which is right off to the side here, I'm going to bring it in here a little bit so you guys can see. So I just have it laying sticky side up. Now I know sometimes in my chalk projects, I will go ahead and just use it again without even putting it in water in between. I was a little leery to do that with ink. I just feel like I would much rather kind of err on the side of caution and make sure the silkscreen area is nice and clear, and then just clean it off and use it again, just to be safe. Maybe I'm going to test it one of these times just to see, but for tonight's project I really didn't want to test it. Rather be cautious. I'm just trying to clean up my squeegee here because I am, like I said, me and ink, oh boy, I get it everywhere. Alright, so let's take a feel of this transfer, see how it's feeling, see if it's getting dry. I want to make sure that it is nice and dry before I put it back down. I was going to go ahead and do the bottom leaf here, but I just want to make sure that I have enough space for my second farm here. It's feeling like it's pretty dry to me. Just checking my fingers one more time for ink. I'll find it later, probably in about 2 hours when I'm watching TV. It'll be somewhere hidden on my hands. Okay, I think, actually I'm glad I did that because I think I want to move this down a little bit. So let me just stick that right there for a second so that I got my spacing a little bit better. Probably, yeah, I think that should be okay right there. I think we're good. Still feels just a tad wet. I just want to make sure that is nice and dry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my hand underneath and I just want to pull my mat down a little bit. So I'm just sliding it down inside here. You see, actually, see how I did get a little bit of white from pulling it down, so the white is coming through on the other side. So that's why you need that mat behind there so it doesn't go to your bottom layer. And again, if you don't, look, I just touched the mat and it's wet. Again, ink everywhere. Goodness gracious, all the time. If you don't have a mat, no worries. You can use a piece of cardboard. That works fine too. All right, let's go on to our second farm. Grab some of this chalk paste from the side here. Got a lot on the side of my jar. All right, so it took a whole lot. Goodness, I don't think I'm gonna need all that. Just covering the silkscreen area yet again. That is all there is to it. That's what I love about this. It's so easy. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm really not a super crafty person. So for those of us that aren't and we still want to make stuff, this is perfect. And also I have such horrible handwriting that if I were to do this on a chalkboard and just try to use my own handwriting, oh my gosh, it would look horrible. Hi Heidi! It would just look awful, I'm not gonna lie. It would look so bad. My handwriting is that awful. So everything is done for you. It's just a matter of picking out the transfers that speak to you and that you really love and that you want to make a project with. Grabbing them up, and I knew that was gonna happen because I felt a bump right there. Darn it. I think my towel was bent right there. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. It is what it is. Doesn't look awful. I think it, yeah, I just had a little tiny bump there when I should have smoothed that out first and I didn't. That was my own fault. Okay, so we're gonna just put the bottom leaf on here, making sure that my mat, I'm gonna slide my mat down just a little bit more again in here so that it's not gonna bleed through. I feel like I'm pretty centered to the top one. I'm gonna grab a different squeegee because my ink was starting to get a little chunky on there. So I'm just gonna grab another little tiny squeegee here because this is only a little guy down here in the bottom. And that is it. That is all there was to make your own kitchen decorative dish towel. How cool was that, right? There we go. Now, what you want to do, first off, what I want to do, is I want to make sure that I am covering my jar. And yep, got ink on my finger again, all the time. Okay, hopefully you guys are a lot less messy than I am with my ink. It's like eating chocolate. Whenever I eat chocolate, I wear it. That's just the way I am. Okay, just getting all that excess ink off. And the second to the last step for this project is literally just making sure that your ink is nice and dry, right? And the white, I found that the white ink really tends to dry pretty quickly. Still feels a little tacky up there, but we just want to make sure that it is definitely good and dry before we heat set it, because if we go to heat set it and it's not dry, it's going to smear it, right? So we don't want that to happen. So if you're finding that after you've heat set it for a little while and it still feels a little tacky to the touch, I would honestly just wait, and just to be safe than sorry, and just maybe even wait overnight and then iron it or heat press it depending on what device you have. But yeah, that's definitely kind of what I would do, because you don't want to do all this work and then accidentally smear it because it wasn't dry, right, when you're trying to heat set it. And I could see I was a little off center with my second farm. That one was a hot mess. And it's okay to keep the heat mat in here when you're using just your hair dryer or your heating tool. But obviously when you're going to go to use your heat press or your iron, you want to make sure that you take your mat out, because you don't want to ruin your mat. And it definitely will get ruined if you heat press it. Or heat set it, sorry. Let me just check this real quick. I'm going to pull the mat out real quick. So you can see that it does get ink all over it and it's doing its job, and that is perfectly fine. Don't use a wipe on the mats though, because it is going to take the stickiness, because it is sticky. You want it to stick on the underside of whatever project you're working on so that it doesn't shift and move. You can just actually use a little bit of water. So you can see how farm came out right here? That's still wet. You can take a little bit of water and just clean it off that way. Definitely do not use a disinfectant wipe, because it kind of works reverse of our transfers. If you use the disinfectant wipe on the mat, it takes away the stickiness. If you use the disinfectant wipe on our transfers, it brings back the stickiness. So that's kind of cool. Alright, so I wanted to make sure my fingers were good and dry. I want to see. It feels pretty good. So for the sake of showing a completed project and completed ink project, which I never seem to be able to do, I'm going to just go for it. So I have an old school iron. Don't have a heat press, so I'm going to use my iron. I'm just putting it on cotton setting. Just don't want to start a fire with a paper towel next to my iron, so I'm going to slide that over. And then all that you need to do for the final step to make this heat set and make it permanent, put yourself a piece of parchment paper between your project and the iron, and then we just heat set it for 4 minutes. I usually just plop the iron down, try not to move it, because again, if it's the teensiest bit wet under there and you're sliding your iron all over like that, you run the risk of possibly smearing. So until we do a couple passes here, then I might start moving it once I feel pretty good that it's starting to get nice and heat set. And good old-fashioned irons, boy, they heat up quick. So just 4 minutes, and that is all you need. And then it is washer and dryer safe. I've done a couple of our transfers on t-shirts. I have, I think, about 3 different t-shirts now, and I've washed all of them many, many times. So no worries about that. That is it. We're just going to grab our little leaf down here. So how fun is that? I think that this, again, I'm always kind of thinking of great ideas for different events that might be coming up. So this, to me, I think if you've got a relative or a friend who has a farm style home and they're just moving into, or this would be a great gift. Or even, you know how sometimes when you go over for parties to your friend's house and you always think, oh, what the heck could I bring? And you wind up just grabbing a cheap bottle of wine or something. How awesome is it to show up with something handmade like this, if you know that they are looking for more decorations for their house, or even if they aren't. Not a big deal. Be showing up with wine all the time. Just a little something out of the box to think of. So that is pretty much it. Once that is done, I know that wasn't 4 minutes, but you kind of get the idea that just kind of go back and forth for 4 minutes until you're sure that it is definitely heat set. And that is all she wrote. And there you have an amazing new addition. Let me just slide my iron down out of the way so I don't burn myself. And you have an amazing new addition to your kitchen, or you have an amazing gift to take with you next time you're going to a friend or family's house. And it took, you know, between me talking, but mostly if I had just done it without talking, probably would have taken, I would say, 5 minutes to do. So that's a pretty awesome idea. I thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your night. Bye.